This morning we received the theology, the science, and the ethics relating to assisted reproductive technologies. This afternoon, we are going to be talking advocacy. This session is supposed to help us reflect on what the advocacy challenges are relating to dealing with this question and what the possibilities could be. Our approach usually in handling panels is personal. So I will invite our panelists to each introduce themselves in a manner that tells us what brings them to the pro-life and family space. Okay, so you select your whole life history, those few words that tell us what brings you really to the pro-life and pro-family space. And I would like to start with my extreme left. Remy, go ahead.
So good afternoon, all of you. My name is Mugambi Remigio Paul. For whatever reason, my parents decided to give me the name Remigio. Is my baptism name. I have been in Human Life International Kenya, which is the pro-life. Previously, it was called Pro-Life Kenya, and in that space, for the many years that we've spoken about the consortium from 2010, and even before that, we have battled on the field, trying to pass on the mission of protection, defense, and promotion of life from conception to natural death. So that at the time that we were speaking about the Constitution, it found us already battling all these threats that we always have in the society about the culture of death, such that in the consortium, Human Life International Kenya is among the very first organizations that came across as the people who were fighting to get the right wordings that we needed to get into the Constitution. The fight against some of the things that were being introduced at that time. Of course, we voted as we did, trying to push away a document that we knew was what we call a good document, but with a poison pill, whereby we have clauses that you could actually see that in the long run, they would allow some of the things that we are trying to fight today. So that's how Remigio Mugabe finds himself seated before you. And we're actually happy to see that the numbers continue increasing. Although there are years that when we call for the Life Week, we are doing the Life March, which is happening on Saturday, numbers at times look like they're shrinking. But my very earnest dream is one day we'll be doing a Life March, which is reverberating across the country. Last Saturday, we had a Life March that was hosted by the Kisumu Diocese, for those of us who might have seen it on the social media. So that the dream that I hold very dearly in my heart is that one time in this country, we'll not be doing a Life March in Nairobi only, but across the country.
Thank you very much, Remy. Dr. Eden. You can even hold it.
I'm very grateful to be here. My name is Eden Tatu. I'm a counseling medical doctor and also a life coach, and I coach in different things throughout human life cycle. I'm the founder and director of Possibilities Family Wellness Center, and I'm very passionate about the family because all the problems in society can be traced to the family. And I was also involved in Human Life Uganda when I was in Uganda, and that was 2003, so I've been in the pro-life movement for 23 years. I'm also a survivor of the sexual revolution ideology, and my idea is that it has a lot of lies that the enemy has come to steal, kill, and destroy. And the greatest trick that Satan ever played in society was that he doesn't exist. So you're there thinking you're making your own choices, you don't need God in life, and the consequences inevitably follow. So I'm actually a mother of 9. 4 children are alive. I lost 3 to abortion and 2 to miscarriages. And because of post-abortion syndrome, I lost my marriage, I lost my career as a medical doctor. I became a drug addict for 20 years, trying to medicate my pain. And by the grace of God, I'm here in recovery. And in May, I will be sober for 10 years.
Wow.
Knowing that the family is the root of everything, I'm very passionate about family. I realized how my choices were actually, my life choices were because of a lot of dysfunction. But luckily, we overcame that by the grace of God. So I talk to young people mainly, and to help them to love themselves and to come out from their brokenness, and that is where we move on shaping the next generation.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. Her story is always touching. When we have her speak to the young ones in high school and university, we get conversions. Okay, Doctor.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. So, my name is Dr. Gideon Mutua. I'm a gynecologist by training, but initially by training, my first master's was in international public health, and then currently I'm also looking at gynecology, oncology. That basically just means that cancers, basically cancers.
We're not hearing. Please, we can't.
Oh, you're not hearing me?
No.
So I was saying that my name is Dr. Gideon Mutua. I am a gynecologist by training, though my first training was in international public health. And currently I'm looking at cancers in women. But more importantly, I attend CITA church, and the reason I came to interact and to know about KCPF was because after I did my first training, I became the personal assistant to the Director of Medical Services in this country. So what would happen is that any policy, any law that touches on health would come at his desk, and he asked me to look at it and point out any issues, especially matters to professional in the health sector, but also Christian values, because he knew I was a Christian. So I would look at the policies, any policy that will come in the desk, I would look at it and point out and say, no, this one is bad, don't sign it. Any law saying this one is bad, don't sign it. It doesn't stand for Christian values. So that's how I came into this place. Then at that particular point, the first life convener in KCPF was the late Dr. Jinkadia. So the Director of Medical Services would ask me, if you're not sure about this matter, ask Dr. Jinkadia. And I was perplexed because the Director of Medical Services in this country, now is the Director General of Health, is the senior most doctor in the country. So I was perplexed that this senior most doctor in the country would actually be asking me to ask the late Dr. Jinkadia, who was at that time a member of his, was a respected Christian, to ask her, is this correct? So that's why I came to start understanding the issues of now, what Christian professionals, can do, where you are standing, wherever you are. I'm in that space, in the Director of Medical Services office, where all the laws, where they come in, we look at them. Then it came now the Constitution. Right, that time in Afiaus, it was clear. There were several people who opposed the Constitution. And one of them was Professor Kiani, I don't know whether you know him, and ourselves. So it was clear to tell people why we opposed the Constitution. In fact, there's a day that there was the law campaign had a rally in Uhuru Park. Then there was a blast. You remember that time? There was a blast at that time. So our offices, Afiaus is just above Uhuru Park. So I've just been working that afternoon. Then I briefly attended the rally. Then I had to go because our child was small. Then the next thing I hear, there was a blast. Somebody lost their lives. So I could see how people really were opposed to our stance. So that is how I come to this space of KCPF and matters, where matters life are so important. And especially now as a gynecologist, as an obstetrician, I see how much time and space and resources are spent first in wanting to ensure that somebody they conceive. Then number two, how that baby, we have to take care of that baby in the mother's womb. The amount of resources that are spent to ensure that baby survives will shock you. And for us also to be aware that the Bible is very clear that the way God says that before you in your mother's womb, I knew you. So that's very clear. But also for us to understand that the way the baby is forming, it is so interesting that by day 21, we'll start counting the days since conception. By day 21, this baby, they already have a heartbeat. The heart is already formed. By day 39, this baby, the skin is already forming. So you can already see that at a very early age, that you already have a baby who is fully formed, who is doing quite well, who can react to all sort of stimuli inside there. And therefore, when now people start saying you can do away with this life, it becomes very shocking. And not just that now you can go to the other side of now surrogacy and start renting that womb, for hire, in quotes. It becomes shocking and passive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Now, my dear audience, see, we have 2 medical doctors and 2 lawyers. The gender question seems to be imbalanced. We've given them 25%, not 30%. But we have a male doctor whose business is protecting women. You had it, isn't it? And you have a father of 5 daughters. Okay? I think I perfectly fit in the context of protecting women. Why did I dig that out? Our adversaries, the pushers of the anti-life language, when they see a panel like this, they say, what are these men doing discussing women things? All right? So it helps that we always put it into context and we say not all men are necessarily chauvinistic. Now, the state has a duty to respect human rights, to protect human rights, and to promote human rights. 3 things: respect, protect, and fulfill or promote. The state respects human rights by restraining itself from being the offender or the abuser of human rights. The state protects human rights by stepping in the gap and preventing third parties from abusing human rights. And the state promotes human rights by taking positive steps towards fulfilling human rights. Now, Remy, tell us, from your reading of the Assisted Reproductive Technologies Bill, is the state fulfilling any or all or none of those functions?
When we look at the bill, which is going to be sent to us, you'll notice that the draft was drafted by one of the parliamentarians and presented to Parliament in 2023. It's actually a bill stroke 2022, so that it is almost 4 years now that it went through the first reading in the National Assembly last year on 11th of November 2025. The reason I'm saying that is that you notice that the laws that we have as a country, or any other country for that matter, are what you call legislation, documents that are generated by us through our legislature, parliament debates, and it is actually assumed that what is being debated and passed as law to govern our day-to-day activities is something that is good for us as the citizens, the people are to be governed. So that now, when you look at this bill, you're looking at one of the pieces of legislation that is intended, so to say, quotes, to advocate or to protect the rights, as we say. So that now, it is actually a very interesting question to ask or even to look at, because we are now moving towards legislating a space that the conversation is that there is no law that governs the practice of ART, assisted reproductive technologies, out there to be used. But at the same time, as you heard from the speakers who spoke earlier, it is a practice that is gaining root. But of course, the question that you want to ask yourself is, now that we as a country are finding ourselves here, where are we coming from? Because of course, when you look at the Constitution, which is the primary law, it does have what you call the Bill of Rights. If you look at we spoke about Article 26, which protects the first, the first in priority of all rights, the right to life. And then these other provisions that are put in the Constitution, the other articles of the Constitution, like the one that Richard spoke about earlier, Article 43, which is ended at protecting the right to the highest standard of healthcare, including down there reproductive right. So that now, when I reflect on that, actually, I'm even seeing a broader picture that it is a law that is trying to catch up, or is being fronted as catching up with what people are clamoring for. And not just in Kenya, it's even across the world. What I intended, Richard, was to even ask ourselves that we are going to legislation when you know that, of course, even at the international level, there has been a clamor. There are quite a number of countries that have already put across legislation. And you know of countries where that kind of approach has been abused. And when you look at what happened last year, the special rapporteur on violence against women and girls, and the proposal that was presented on violence against women and girls on surrogacy, and the push that is being done at the international level at the UN is actually to go back, to take a step backwards, because we are saying, are we doing the right thing? Because there are so many things that are embedded. There is the question of setting up a directorate. There is the question of regulating, licensing doctors who are going to, practitioners who are going to be in that space. There are agencies. Right now, the bill is at the Senate level, because this bill is proposing to have a law that is going to have an effect across the counties. And if you have such a law, it not only passes at the National Assembly, but also must be passed at the Senate. So we are at the Senate level, whereby we are meant to be discussing it and seeing whether we should pass it. So it is a motley of things. There is a desire to have a law that regulates the practice of ART. But the question that we are sitting here to ask ourselves, is it a good law? Is it going to achieve what it is intended to, or is it going to bring in more of a problem than is being attempted to resolve? Richard.
Thank you very much. Now, the purpose of this law, it is an act of parliament that will provide for the regulation of assisted reproductive technology, to prohibit certain practices in connection with assisted reproductive technology, to establish assisted Reproductive Technology Directorate to make provision in relation to children born of assisted reproductive technology processes, born. Okay, they're not talking of those conceived. Look, Dr. was talking of those conceived. Okay, but these are providing for those born of assisted reproductive technology processes and for connected purposes. So, Dr. Ida, in your estimation, are women protected in this law? Are the children protected? By children, we start from conception, as our constitution says.
Yes, we always need to emphasize that life begins at conception, and definitely this is a form of, definitely does not protect the rights of women and children. Article 53 of the Constitution talks specifically about the rights of the child. And this is a right to a name, the right to a nationality, freedom from abuse and neglect, the best standard of health care and education, and the right to be raised by both parents. And so this is a form, surrogacy is a form of commodification of children and commodification of women and their bodies. So the commodity is actually a reduction of the human dignity, because Article 28 talks about the inherent dignity of the human person. And we know as Christians that our dignity comes from the fact that we're made in God's image and likeness, and male and female. So using the woman's body as like in Rent a Womb, if you could look at that video when you get home, it's about 19 minutes long, wombs for hire. Our wombs are not supposed to be hired, or they're not supposed to use it as a form of commodity, to be paid, even altruistically, because the definition of surrogacy is actually getting pregnant for the purpose of giving up the child at the end of the pregnancy. And children's rights for the full health, if we talk about health being the complete mental, physical, spiritual, environmental well-being of a human being, and not just the absence of infirmity. Children need to, that bond that mother and child make when the woman is pregnant for 9 months, it cannot be, it is so cruel for her to be forced to give up the child at the end of the pregnancy, even if she has been paid to do that. Because even, we're talking about that in other countries, Western countries, in the Western world, even the atheistic, agnostic countries, they've actually banned surrogacy. But now they're taking advantage of the poverty of our women so that they can rent a womb for hire, and they always present it as like, compassionate, or people need to have a right, people have a, by the way, there's no such thing as a right to a child. If God has not sent you a child, then you need to use the legitimate means, but not surrogacy. The end does not justify the means. So you have these rich people, these well-off people who will probably have infertility or actually want to perform child trafficking. You've heard of the Epstein files and how they actually eat babies, and how they are cannibals. The children undergo ritual cannibalistic abuse. So this is something that commodifies children, and even the way that it is done, the eugenics part of it, and the loss of life through the discarding of the embryos, and we know that life begins at conception. Children being refrigerated, yes, they're embryos, but we know that life begins at conception. The whole process, that is all these issues of separation of mother and child, and all the psychosocial issues that happen to the child with such a separation, and the mother being used just because she is in a low socioeconomic status, she's being actually exploited for this purpose. And so they always present it as compassionate, but it's a multi-billion-dollar industry that has now come to Africa. I think 50% of the people who are women who are being used for surrogacy actually come from Africa, taking advantage of their poverty. So it is all usury, it is using the woman and selling of children who are made in God's image and likeness, and so it's all very wrong. And the Western countries have done away with it, but now it's come to Africa because they're taking advantage of our poverty and our need.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, this bill does something good in defining an embryo. It uses constitutional language. It says an embryo means a live preborn person. Okay? A live preborn person or child from fertilization or conception. Now, this definition is very important. It is actually legislating the Constitution, okay? Until transfer into the adoptive or surrogate mother. But this live person, when the bill defines cryopreservation, that is your language, doctor, means the assisted reproductive technology process of cooling and storing gametes or embryos. Remember we said live, preborn person, okay? So we can easily say of cooling live